Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about some of the basics you need to know before you start cryogenics, because it's good to know these things before you get out there, or cryogenic tips for beginners. Let's go over some of the basics that the noobs might not know about. First of all, you'll need some gloves, but not just any ordinary gloves. You need thermal gloves, but you need to inspect them regularly for tears and frays, and make sure that when you do see that, you get some new thermal gloves. These are going to save your hands from freezing over. Next, you're going to need a hammer, but not any ordinary hammer. It needs to be a special cryo hammer that's going to minimize sparks and handle extreme cold temperatures without brittling. And I use these in replacements of valve wrenches because they're adjustable to different size circular valves. But if you have a valve wrench, feel free to use that instead. And a hard hat with an integrated visor and earmuffs. We gone over the basic tools that you're going to need, but don't look at that over there. Now we need to go over the attire that you'll need. It starts off with fire-resistant long sleeve pants and boots. You don't want your shirts tucked in because liquid can come in through the cracks, especially if you reach up and they'll go in there. Zippers closed, overlap your shirt so that way whenever the liquid runs down your body, it'll go down your jeans. You want to make sure your pants are untucked over your boots. That way it doesn't go into your boots. And once it is covered over all the way around, if it keeps going down, you want to make sure your boots are water resistant, steel toe, and slip resistant on the bottom. That way you don't accidentally slip while you're walking on slippery surfaces like upon opening the doors, it can look a bit intimidating. But since we've already gone over some of this on part 1, we're going to bypass this part and go into some other little tips. This is your pump. This is what creates flow of product to come out of your trailer from an external force that's shown over here. Let me show you. In this case, it's not linear. It actually has this system that you can see through here. You'll see that there's a pulley system, and that's going to transfer power from down here to up here through these pulleys, through all these joints, through this long bar. You would want to check this on your pre-trip, check the belt, check the tension, and then also make sure that all of these all the way across are not dropping or hanging down. You could check each one manually through here. Over here is the other transfer area where it's transitioning the power from the lower to upper part through another pulley system, just like over there, all the way across, same bar, and it goes to this pulley. Inspect this one as well, the same as the other way. Next to this is where you would be able to access the actual pony motor. The pony motor itself is a small diesel engine that is providing power down to that pump. See, there's the coolant on the side. That's where you would put diesel and the diesel meter to fill the pony motor. You have this other side, which if you're offloading using a pump, I would definitely recommend using both sides opened so that way airflow can go through and not overheat the motor. Here's the interface for the motor, and on the right side is the clutch that you would use to engage and disengage the pump to the motor. This trailer comes equipped with an air suspension dump valve, which dumps the air out of the airbags to create a lean towards the rear end so the liquid goes towards the pump. These trailers also come with a mechanism whenever you open the door that will engage the trailer brakes. Some trailers come with a diagram that label the parts of the trailer, so in this case, if we were looking at this one and we looked across the diagram, it would show you that it's the discharge hose. If you have a circular valve that's really stubborn and doesn't want to move with regular hand movement, you could utilize something like this so that you can gain more leverage to be able to twist it. But if for any reason you don't have this, you could still utilize this. It's a little trickier, but you could still get it in there with the right tightness and angle. But brute force is not always the way to go with these, because sometimes it could be the rubber grommet or it could be frozen over from having it opened or closed too tightly. Too much brute force might cause you to break the circular valve and it can cause a leak. Here's an example of a grommet that is damaged. It can cause a leak out of this area, as well as whenever you're trying to open and close the valve, it can get twisted up within itself. One thing that you should do before you unload or load, arrive or depart is always make sure that your valves are in the correct position that you need them to be in. Make sure that nothing has slack in them. In this case, like this one or this one right here, you want to make sure that everything is in the closed position or in the position of operation that you need it in before you go. Never assume that they're in the position that they should be in. We've talked about circular valves, but now let's talk about these bleed valves. These you want to be careful with. Make sure that they're at a 90-degree angle. You could tell from this nut right here, if it's flat across the actual valve, that means it's closed. But even if you push it all the way down, that's technically a quarter open, even though it's in the other direction. So you always want to make sure that this is in a 90-degree angle to the valve itself. Not all bleed valves have this, but this one has a designated stopper to make sure that you don't go past it. Lastly, flammables. Anytime you access a flammable, it's actually the opposite. So instead of going left to loosen, it's right to loosen. So it's a little confusing, but it's usually the opposite for anything that's flammable specifically. Guys, it was real, it was great, but it wasn't real great. That's why I gotta go.